Edge at 11 starts now.
Well, it's scorching. It is pretty hot.
I don't like it, but I mean, you know, I guess I can deal with this better than I can the cold.
Very humid. The air is very, it's thick, yes.
Tonight on The Edge, we're all trying to beat the heat. Today kicked off a week of temperatures in the 90s, and we're just getting started. It's a week where we're advised to spend more time inside, stay hydrated, use that sunblock, right, and wear loose-fitting clothing.
And tonight, there are a few storms moving through, and to find out more about that, we're going to check in now with Captain Rich Luderman tracking the radar.
Taryn, Roop, we did see some active storms a few hours ago, especially for Lenawee and Monroe counties, but the heat and the humidity, that's the big story, and that's going to be that way for the next 5 or 6 days. Today's day number 1 of 6 in a row. You know, you have to go all the way back to 1994, the last time we had a prolonged hot stretch in the month of June. Notice there are some clusters of storms out there, especially down around Ann Arbor and the airport. But here's the heat advisory and the excessive heat warning for Genesee, Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne counties. Heat indices at times could be up to 101. Here are the highs today. Look at that. We hit 95. Look at Toledo, 99 degrees as far west as Grand Rapids and up to Mount Pleasant, 94s. Here's a good look at those clusters of storms. The big threat here, very heavy downpours over Ann Arbor along I-94 to the airport. They are starting to weaken a bit. One other cell way up there around Almont in Lapeer County. But today, 95 degrees. That's not a record. The record for today set back in 1994, 99 degrees, but certainly way above where we should be. Here are the current numbers: 81 Howe, 79 Adrian, 81 over in Mount Clemens. There are the heat index numbers coming down a bit. So obviously at night it's not quite as hot when the sun is not out. Here's that flow, pretty light from the south. Check out these current readings: 83 in Muskegon, 77 in Port Huron, 82 to our south in Toledo. There's no big change to the presentation of the atmosphere, so it's going to stay hot. Eventually, down the road for the weekend, we're going to see a cold front that'll bring us some relief, but it's going to be a while. Very warm and muggy this evening. Spotty storms down to 74. Back to 94 tomorrow. Perhaps a stray late-day thunderstorm, and it's really the same forecast all the way through Saturday. Sunday, we will get a frontal boundary, and notice by next Monday, 84 degrees. And remember, you can always take the latest forecast with you with the Fox 2 Weather app. You can download it for free right now or anytime in the App Store or in Google Play. Taryn, we'll see you at 4 a.m.
All of a sudden, one boat's in the water, and then when they got the second one in, I knew it was bad. Just prayers for that family.
Tragedy at a Milford Township beach after a teenager drowns. The teen went missing around 1 p.m. at the public lake at Camp Dearborn. The teen's body was found shortly before 3, about 30 feet from shore in about 6 feet of water. The victim is a 17-year-old from Hamtramck.
Meantime, bystanders spring into action in Warren after a young boy does not resurface in an apartment complex pool.
And their actions might have saved his life. Fox 2's Dave Kitchen has more on his condition tonight.
Here's what we know right now. This boy, 9 years old, in the hospital in critical but stable condition, breathing on his own. Family members performing CPR after police say this boy was in the water for as many as 6 minutes.
This is really crazy. Like, all this is crazy.
Warren police and terrified residents on scene at the Kings Point Apartments pool on 12 Mile, where a 9-year-old boy went into the water and became unresponsive.
Nobody noticed him until somebody looked in the pool and they said there's a kid drowning at the bottom of the pool.
Warren police say it was around 6 p.m. Monday when the frantic call came into dispatch. Several people were taking a dip in the intense heat, but now a precious life was in danger.
Our dispatchers began giving instructions, CPR instructions over the phone.
Witnesses tell Fox 2 it took 2 more people to jump in and help with CPR to bring the boy around.
As our officers arrived, the child began breathing again. A short time later, our fire department arrived and transported the child down to St. John, Maine. It looks like he's still in critical condition but stable. It looks like the fast work of the people that got him out of the pool, our officers, and then our fire department did an amazing job getting the child down to the hospital.
Warren Police Commissioner Charles Rushton says no one seemed to be paying attention when the kid went into the pool. He says these types of scares happen far too often, especially on days with scorching temperatures.
Like in this situation and many that unfortunately have happened throughout the metro area. It only takes a few seconds, especially with children around water. They become panicked very quickly, and tragedy can strike within a minute or two.
And Warren police tell us this is an active and ongoing investigation. They say there are warning signs at this apartment complex saying that they don't have lifeguards on duty there. In fact, this is an issue for many apartment complexes that don't have lifeguards, or they're trying to hire lifeguards because there is a shortage. That's another issue altogether that many areas are trying to work out. In Warren, Dave Kinchin on The Edge.
And also tonight, we are learning more information about the horrific weekend shooting at a Rochester Hills splash pad. We know 36 rounds were fired on families enjoying a warm day, wounding 9 people.
2 are still in critical condition tonight. Fox News' Jessica Dupek spoke to the Oakland County Sheriff tonight and joins us live with more on what he had to say about this mass shooting. Jessica.
Ruben, Taryn, we are, of course, thinking of those victims tonight. The 8-year-old little boy shot in the head, showing some signs of improvement, but still critical. As far as the why for all of this, the sheriff telling me tonight no manifesto has been found and very little clues in the electronics taken from the shooter's home.
It sounded kind of like fireworks, and I usually hear them during holidays, so I figured at first it's probably like fireworks again. And then I heard screaming after that.
Living 3 doors down from the Brooklands Plaza splash pad, Sana Malik is used to hearing screams of joy, not out of terror.
I didn't want to be right, but I kind of figured before I knew what it was.
Sana walks the same steps. The shooter calmly ascended Saturday evening, spraying gunfire, hitting 9 people. The worst, a mom and 8-year-old son in critical condition. He loaded, then unloaded 36 rounds.
So I thought it was weird when I saw a video of like the bullet markers on the steps, because I always go up those.
An Oakland County Sheriff's deputy now stands watch, and tarps shield the splash pad from view.
It's pretty sad that this happened, and I didn't think it would happen in a place like where I live.
No manifesto, no clues yet on the shooter's electronics, but there were signs that the 42-year-old who lives here a mile from the scene was not stable. Neighbors describe him as a loner who didn't leave the house much.
In one of the earlier interviews, our detectives learned that he apparently had been pacing around the house with a weapon, talking about turning your phone off because they are listening in, kind of a paranoia, kind of government is watching us discussion.
12 guns recovered by investigators between the gun at the scene and at his home. He bought the murder weapon, a 9mm pistol, legally in 2015. The shooter lives here with his mother, who was on a road trip when this happened.
Did anyone report this to authorities or anything else?
At this point, we have no information that anyone reported any concerns.
And now there's a way to petition the courts to get weapons out of the hands of people in mental health crisis under red flag laws.
If you think there's a mental health challenge going on, a mental health concern, that's the time to talk to that loved one, talk to a mental health professional, talk to some public safety employees, to loop other people in that could be resources or of assistance, or maybe need to have that on their radar screen.
Since this happened, the shooter's mother has hired a lawyer. The sheriff says getting information from her about her son has been a challenge and will continue to be because, of course, she has a lawyer. She is not talking to law enforcement, at least at this point.
What about neighbors and other people in that area? I know that's a rather close-knit community. What are they saying?
You know, we didn't report this early on, but some of the neighbors that we talked to noticed in the last few days before the shooting that someone had actually cut holes in the blinds and put up blankets on the windows, kind of leading to what the sheriff had said about that paranoia sort of playing into that. But of course, we know hindsight is 20/20.
Right, signs were there, but sometimes though it's a good reminder to people if you see something odd like that, it is important to report it. All right, thank you, Jessica, for the update.
And the shooting at the Brooklands Plaza splash pad was sadly one of 3 this weekend in Metro Detroit, where at least 5 people were shot. Gunfire broke out at a home in Lathrop Village early Saturday morning. We're told 6 people were shot during a party on Margate. At last check, 2 of those who were hurt are listed in critical condition, but we're told all are expected to survive. There were no casualties, but that suspect is still at large.
And then late Saturday night on Detroit's east side, 5 people were shot on Albion Street. The victims were between 14 and 20 years old, and all 4 were females. 1 person has died, but the victim information has not yet been released. There is no suspect right now in custody. Well, week 2 of testimony is now underway in the murder trial of Jewish leader Samantha Wall.
And today, her ex-boyfriend, who originally confessed to the crime, took the stand.
I began to believe that I that I was responsible for her death, that I had somehow killed her and didn't remember.
Are you responsible for Samantha's death in any way?
No.
Jeffrey Herbstman tells the court that his new medication for depression left him confused at the time of her murder, and he was in the midst of a full-blown panic attack. He was released after the confession because investigators couldn't find evidence that he committed the murder. Later in the day, her best friend was asked about the men in her life.
She would suffer a lot of fools in her life, but she would never suffer anybody that was violent or that would be harmful physically.
Another former ex-boyfriend testified that Wool would often leave her doors unlocked. Michael Jackson Bolanos is accused of killing Wool at her home during a robbery gone wrong. Well, a couple of unusual robberies to tell you about tonight.
Yes, we found out who knew that vitamins were so popular. You have to take a look at this surveillance video from Plum Market in Bloomfield Township. These 4 women were caught on camera stuffing supplements and vitamins into their clothing. We're talking up to $7,000 worth of supplements, and it does not appear to be their first time. Plum Market store managers in West Bloomfield and Ann Arbor reported the same crimes. If you recognize these women, make sure you call Bloomfield Township PD.
And then over at Kona Grill in Troy, it appears some customers didn't feel like paying for their orders. We're told earlier this month, 3 people ordered food and then walked out with their drinks and the glasses they came in. And it wasn't a clean getaway. It turns out one customer left his cell phone behind. He came back for it. Police were called. As officers spoke to him in the parking lot, it turns out there was a little baggie stuck to his shoe. The man admitted there was cocaine in there. The 36-year-old Detroit man was arrested and now faces charges of larceny and drug possession.